Steph, thanks so much for coming back on the show. Really excited to have you on. You're a very busy girl, so I'm excited to get you back on the show. Can you tell us just a little bit about yourself to get started?
Yeah. Well, I was once Stephanie Mock, but now I'm Stephanie Grubbs. So I recently got married to another strength coach, which that makes our lives even crazier because he's a mime. Makes it better. And he's from Indianapolis. So Mike, shout out to you.
Yes.
Been a big follower of your company, being from the area. But Stephanie Grubbs now. I'm with the Astros, but I was in the college space for a long time prior to this, for over 10 years, which is making me sound really old.
Yeah.
My prior pro experience was with the Steelers for like a season. I was like a seasonal intern with them. So had kind of dipped my toe in the water with the NFL, but now I'm a MLB and we're rolling. We're over halfway through the season, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And like you said, I mean, I think you said you're like 98, 100 games in and still 60 some games to go. So go you. That's a lot. That's a lot. So, okay. I know this is a loaded question, but what's new since the last time we chatted? Because it's been a couple years and you've had a couple stops. So could you just kind of like walk us through what you've been up to the last 5-ish years or so?
Yeah, so last time we talked, I was the director of Olympic sports, strength and conditioning at Mississippi State. I had been at Clemson for 5 years before that, working with Rick Franspot, which he's a rock star.
Yes.
So grateful for him as a mentor. But yeah, worked for Rick at Clemson for 5 years, then took that director spot at Mississippi State. Oversaw all the Olympic sports, which was awesome. And I worked alongside a lot of great people with basketball and football. Really, Anthony Burley on the football side was the one that brought me in, and he's now the head strength coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but also from Pittsburgh. We're both Pittsburgh natives. That made it fun. After Mississippi State, I went up to be the assistant athletic director for sports performance at Pitt. And that was my first role where I was over not only strength conditioning and sports science, and hired a first ever director of sports science there, but I was also over all the sports and all 3 weight rooms between Olympic sports, football, and basketball. So really got to see behind the scenes, like what goes into the administrative role. Plus still, I trained volleyball on the floor coaching for 4 years there. And I was really lucky to work with Dan Fisher, our head coach, really, really, really great guy. And we had some success going to 4 Final Fours. Could never get a crack our way into the Natty, but I know they will now. And I'll be watching and supporting from afar. But it was fun to work with a really successful head coach like that, and has had some ACC championships, but then just overseeing and having a pretty large staff and working around a lot of people and having that leadership opportunity, I'm still super grateful for. Then I was part of an NFL Women's Forum that they put on, which is really neat. They put it on at the Combine usually, but that was the COVID year.
Sad.
Virtually. They bring in Roger Goodell, they bring in GMs, head coaches, and organize a great event. And that's how I got an opportunity to work with the Steelers. If you don't know, in Pittsburgh, the University of Pittsburgh football facility is shared with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So if you pull up to the building, it's like half Steelers, half Pitt football. So it kind of worked perfect for me to be able to have experience to work with the Steelers since we share and that support. So I can follow sports science and S&C wise there. Well, with Marcel, the strength coach. And got to dip my toe in the water, work in the NFL, work in that administrative role. And now I've taken the full leap working in pro sports, now at the Houston Astros, working with our head strength coach, Wes. He's from the Dominican Republic, so it's really cool to have him as our leadership and my mentor. Because him speaking Spanish and English is extremely helpful. First and foremost.
Absolutely.
And then also just, he kind of came up in the grassroots approach with the Astros, and he can double and triple.
Oh, that's cool.
Within the ecosystem. So and then me just working with like over 20 different sports. I think we really met each other. And he really helps me day to day get up to speed with this new ecosystem. Major League Baseball, so that's what's been going on.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Well, that's why I had to ask. And part of it was I knew, obviously, I'm always like keeping tabs on people, and I know you had multiple roles, but then I go to LinkedIn today because I was like, oh, like, let me just like brush up and make sure. And then I saw that Pittsburgh Steelers thing plugged in there. I'm like, when did she find time to go work for them on top of being at Pitt? So that makes more sense now, because I was just like, do you have like extra hours in the day that none of us else have access to? Because I didn't know how you were doing both at the same time. That's pretty cool though.
Yeah, no, working training camp with them, now that I look back, I'm really glad I had jumped on the opportunity, because even we share like doctors at the Steelers between Pitt and the Steelers. So there's a lot of like cohesive overlapping with UPMC, the hospital. And so yeah, I was really lucky to get that opportunity, and I'm glad now reflecting that I went through like an NFL training camp.
Yeah.
Because when I went through spring training, when we went to Florida, it was very similar, because they were both like site facility, just knowing what goes in equipment and just like, creating an ecosystem.
Yeah.
And then let them living there for 40 days, whatever it may be. And, full in baseball week and spring training.
Oh my gosh.
Stay different. Oh,
right.
Just kind of seeing the ins and outs of the workflow was really helpful for me. I'm glad I did that. So it wasn't like daunting.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love it. Well, I think I'd like to actually just start there, because you've got a tremendous amount of time in the college space and obviously had a lot of success, different roles, different levels. But now you're in the professional space and you're seeing like a totally different side of things, right? And you've already worked in two major sports, right? Like you worked with the Steelers for a while. Now you're with the Astros. What are some of the biggest differences between the collegiate and professional worlds?
Yeah, I would say, first and foremost, when I'm going into work with Major League Baseball, like when I'm going into the stadium, I'm wearing dress clothes, like we're wearing a button up, we're wearing pants, like it's very much, if you're a strength coach, you're also just treated as like the coach in and of itself. So expectations are, we're all pros, you're in the show, you need to carry yourself. So I think it's been great for me as a professional, not saying like I love wearing shorts and t-shirt and everything else.
Yeah.
But
making me very self-conscious right now, wearing my t-shirt every day to work.
No, I love that. But I think I always looked like it was something to get used to, like you did a good job in pro sports, and in the NFL it may be different, but Major League Baseball, I think they do a really good job of like carrying yourself like a pro, and you do feel like a massive difference. So I'm like coaching up one of my college baseball players. Hey, when you get to the big leagues, like make sure you don't have like ripped jeans, like all the things that we educate kids on in the college sector. But like, you don't want your athletes coming in and being that guy that's using an example picture in spring training of like,
sure,
it's so-and-so walking in with like a cut off and ripped jeans. Like this is what not to wear. So, I think just getting used to like even attire when I'm walking into work. And then just the coach to athlete relationship is vastly different. I feel as if in college, like you're talking at the athlete, you're telling them exactly what to do. Like you're educating them on like their routine, like when to wake up in the morning, what to eat, like literally down to the nitty gritty. So I feel as if it's a lot of like talking at them and like they don't know what they don't know. Right. So like they're just living with their mom and dad. Like this is very brand new. It's the first time living away. So like all these different inputs are coming at them, whether it's the strength coach, the sports scientist, the dietitian, the head coach, and once they get to, and Major League Baseball is different from the NFL, right? Because Major League Baseball, you have to work up the ranks. You have to kind of earn your way to the show.
Yeah.
In NFL, like, of course if you're a rookie, it's going to feel a little bit different, but you're still like, quote unquote, at the show. Or in the NBA, there's not like a system you have to work up through.
Right.
So we can have athletes that are like varying ages, in Major League Baseball, just like the NBA or football. So that coach to athlete relationship, now that I'm in Major League Baseball, I would say when I'm working with guys, it's like a conversation, right, about training.
Yep.
Because at this point, they know what doesn't work for them. It's like, hey, I know this movement causes me pain. Like, I don't like doing, let's say, example, like back squat. Like, I'd rather do some Kaiser squats, or whatever it may be. That makes me feel better and more prepared on the field. So they know what doesn't work for them. And they really know, especially like arm care and things like that. A lot of them already know, like, this is what I need to do throughout the season, like maintenance or rehab or prep. So they really kind of know they have a foundation that's different from college, but they're coming to you for advice or seeking out answers in regards to if they see something online. It's like, hey, do you think this is good or bad? They're seeking out advice maybe on like, where should I train in the off season? What are some good places? I just need to like get a difference, like change up the monotony, right? Of just like playing the
sure.
every day. Do you have any recommendations of where to go? Like when you're talking about programming, it's like, this is what's worked for me in the past whenever I was with this team. Like, do we have these things here? And that could be training wise, it could be recovery wise. So I think they use you as a strength coach as a resource for information. So it's making me have to sharpen my tools and knowledge. I have to be reading even more, about
sure.
And A, B, C, and D, or like what are the new certifications out there, like what are the new recovery modalities. So I think it's made me have to sharpen my toolbox even more because the level of questions that you're getting at this level are a little bit more elite than maybe in college. One where like, I don't know how to do a power clean, like teach me able to.
Right.
And I won't say it's like good and bad. It's just, it's very different. My relationship is working at like, these guys have wives and kids and like they're supporting people at home. So like, this is make or break. So the strengths and things like that change. So yeah, that relationship, that coach to athlete relationship looks a little bit different, but it's not good or bad. It's just different.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great point. And that's not something I'd really thought about as much, but thinking back, a lot of the guys and gals that I've worked with, because I've seen them, from that end of college through, all of their professional career, many of them. And yeah, the conversations change quite a bit and the way you interact, right? Because a lot of times, like you said, they don't know what they don't know. But then you get 4 or 5 years in, their bodies are different, right? There's more mileage on them. They've been with other strength coaches, different players, facilities. They just know more stuff. And so now it's like, hey, they kind of know what they like from you that works. Maybe they pulled some things from other places. But now it's like, okay, now how do we take all this and put it into something cohesive that will continue to get me prepared to play the game that I love? And I think that's part of the fun of it, right?
Definitely. And like when you come in college as a strength coach, you can just tell them what to do and they can fall in line. You may have some outliers or walls. And the pros, you come in and if you just start pointing at people and telling them what to do, it may not go very great.
Yeah.
Build a relationship, build some trust. I like to think about it as like I'm building small wins along the way. If they ask me a question and I give them a good answer, it's like, all right, that was a small win today. Like, and just stacking those small wins over time because rightfully so, they shouldn't trust some just stranger coming in 100%.
Absolutely.
Like, full tilt. So I think that building trust, that length of time when you come to pro sports, it's not gonna be a show up and everybody's like lining up and doing this and doing that. It's like, hey, that relationship building is even more important. They're really just looking for how is this person going to bring value that make me better, right?
Yeah.
So we're professional sports. We're trying to win a World Series or a Super Bowl or whatever it may be. So just bringing value to the team is most important, and how are you really going to be that player and just be there for them on a consistent manner.
No, I love that. Okay, so I know a topic you're very passionate about is microdosing strength. I feel like you've talked about it everywhere, but it wouldn't be a good podcast. I wouldn't be a good podcast host if I didn't at least ask you about it. So let's start at the top. What got you interested in this idea of microdosing strength?
Yeah, I would say the constraints around when you're in the season with the team, like just looking at, all right, this is our schedule in season, finding a creative way to get more doses of strength training in when you are in season. I think that's where, like, and I'm sure a lot of people listening to this podcast can be like, all right, we're in season, maybe working with like a men's or women's soccer. And the field or the pitch is really far away from the weight room. The coach knows, like, I need to get these things in at practice. And then hopefully I'll send the guys or gals over to the weight room post to get a lift session in. For some reason, practice runs over. My one lift session a week that I was supposed to get is no more because they need to get to class. And so I think it just came from, I have this constraint situation going on. How can I be creative in the weight room to allow myself to get more minimal exposures over time to allow those to kind of stack up over season? And ideally, like, You want to keep them strong. You want to keep them resilient. You want to keep their capacity up. So when you're missing a lift and you only get one lift a week, and then all of a sudden that turns into a month, and then 3 months, and then it's always going to compound over time, right? So then you
For
get
sure.
off season, then you have to kind of rebuild them even more so. So I think it came from just having that in-season schedule and all the different constraints that you're kind of working against. I was like, how can I get creative and find a solution, and not just as a strength coach complain like, oh, just another team, never lifted in the season, you know me. It's like, no, how am I going to find, again, small wins over time that are going to stack up and keep these athletes healthy, or at least give myself the best shot of keeping them healthy, right?
Sure.
As strength coaches, we always want to like tip our hat and be like, we're the ones that are keeping them resilient out there in the field. It's like, no, I'm just trying to help be a good physical prep coach and keep them out there and feeling good. So I think, it came from a place of, I wanted to find a solution to a problem, and microdosing kind of came out of the ashes here.
I love it. Now, lots of people talking about microdosing, but I don't hear as many people like they espouse the idea of it and they like the idea of it, but I don't hear as many people talking about it practically, right? So I would love to hear how you actually apply it to a competitive schedule, and maybe how does it change across different sports? Because one of the great things about having you on, you've worked with so many different sports. Like, how are you using it? Different calendars, different sports. I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, and it really started with like all great ideas. It was stolen from somebody else, right?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I went to a conference out in Sacramento with the Kings that Ramsey put on when he was out there at that
Yep.
time. And if you guys know the basketball world, there's lots of great names. Ramsey's out there. One of them now is at Kansas. But Corey Schlesinger was presenting on microdosing when he was in Stanford men's basketball. And I was like, oh man, this is really interesting. And this was probably like 2018-ish. And I was like, oh yeah. Like, I love his thought. I love his themes. I love how he's laying out these different days for basketball. But like, at that point in time, I was working with volleyball, which, you know, there's similarities in basketball.
A lot of similarities, yeah.
Plyometric training, you know, Mike, than anybody being in the basketball world for sure, and all the sports as well. But I think there's a lot of overlapping themes, some differences, right? But like, we're kind of working with the same problems, and how can we find solutions to these problems, whether it's tendonitis, a lot of jumping, stress fractures in the lower limb, like this, that, and the other. So it came from, I saw Corey doing it with basketball, and I was like, well, how can we apply it to my setting? Because not everyone's setting is the same. So kind of full tilt forward, I got to hit, and actually Dan Fisher that I was talking about earlier, our head volleyball coach at that time, he was already implementing microdosing because he heard about it from his friend that was the head volleyball coach at Stanford where Corey was.
Yeah.
So he was like,
that's
hey,
cool.
Dad. Like, luckily Dan Fisher, our head coach, it was kind of his idea. And then I was like, hey, I've heard about it. Like, let me do more research and figure out kind of my style. And then let me present it to you, coach. And then you kind of let's throw some ideas back and forth, and let's land on something great. And luckily, I did play college volleyball at West Virginia. So him and he knew I knew volleyball just from being a former player. So I think that always helps find your head coach. He's like, all right, Steph, let's get to the drawing board and look at this. So what I came up with working with him is for the system of volleyball, and I kind of look at how many games do you have a week? And we'll start with volleyball, which is 2 games for ACC play in college. So we usually played Friday, Sunday. And I kind of call this the true microdosing model in my eyes, because we were getting small exposures across the week, and we were always doing it before practice.
Okay.
So luckily, and this is something you have to think about when you're doing microdosing strength training in season, is how far is the weight room from the court or the field? Usually for, let's say, basketball or volleyball, the weight room is usually pretty close. It's like the weight room's upstairs, like on a set of stairs, and I'm on the court. So our furthest day out from game day would be more of like a strength day. Then we kind of, as we get closer to game day, kind of pivot to more of a power day. That day 3 would be a speed day. And then in between the game days, we would do like a central nervous system type day.
Yeah.
That was kind of like our true microdosing 2 games a week model. Then if you pivot towards even like a football, right? When you have 1 game a week, or even like football overseas or professional like MLS, we would try to sprinkle in, if I had the opportunity, I thought about like to do microdosing with the football team, because I kind of saw it in college a little bit. being exposed to it. And then with the Steelers, I was able to be around them. But my thought would be day one would be more of like this would be like a hybrid. So like 100% traditional. So you get that like one big lift, one big exposure to the double for game day. So that would still be your 45-minute to an hour lifts, kind of get the big hitters. Then you could do more of a hybrid, like microdose for the other days of the week. So maybe you do, depending on what the athlete needs, because in the NFL, you have ages that are different, just like baseball. Day two would be more of a microdosing day of strength and power. So you kind of do 50-50. Day three would be like power and mobility as you get closer to game day, 50-50. And then really day four would be more of just mobility and movement, because the guys do like to keep those joints moving, keep that lubrication going, because football in and of itself is such a beast, all the hitting. So I think that would be more of, if you had a one game a week, you'd still be able to kind of afford, if you think about, like I always talk with coaches, like kind of you're dealing with a bank and money and you're on an allowance. You could have that day one being traditional. We can kind of spend that money knowing that we have a lot of days kind of building up and time going into it. So that would be more of the one game a week model. And then we go to baseball. Oh man, I call this one fluid microdosing, because you guys know in Major League Baseball, or if you don't know, we have like 162 games in 182 days. So we're playing 6 to 7 games a week. So this one's going to be fluid in allowing the guys to kind of pick their spots of where they want to train. So I've done it with these guys as more of like, there's 2 upper body days and then there's 2 lower body days. And one's more of a strength and one's more of like a dynamic speed type day. And then making sure, of course, you get your post chain work in. But sometimes we do that after the game. And one thing that's crazy in baseball is you have guys, I didn't know this until I started working in it. We may play a 1:00 game on Sunday and maybe Monday's our off day. Like we'll play that 1:00 game. And then guys will come in post game to get a lift in. I'm like, hey, it's a perfect time to get a strength like lift in. Do more lower body, and then I'll hit like my Nordics, knowing that I have the off day the following day, because we don't get many off days. So they really try to sometimes load on that day heavy. So I think it's been, or we could have a 7:00 game, and maybe the next day is a travel day, and they're like, oh, I want to get a lift in. They may come in post game for 30 minutes, hit upper body, and that like maybe it's a strength day of rock and roll. So I think having those 4 days and like fluid microdosing is really helpful for baseball, because sometimes when we're traveling coast to coast and we'll look at like, let's say travel stress index, when we're changing time zones to how many days are we in LA, how many days are we in Colorado with the elevation. We'll look at all these things and account for it. And if some guy's feeling good and they want to come in and hit a speed day like before, let's try to capitalize on them feeling good and do so. Well, with all these different sports, clearly you have force plates kind of let in there. We use Hawkeye for baseball. There's Catapult. We used it with volleyball, football, of course. But then you're going to kind of layer in some of that readiness and assessment testing as well. But those are kind of the big 3: a hybrid, the traditional microdosing, the true microdosing, and then for baseball, I call it the fluid microdosing, because the best is adaptability for sure, and availability. But
Okay, so this is so interesting to me because, again, I've not worked in that environment. I'm trying to imagine what it would be like. You said you have 2 upper and 2 lower days that you want to get in across a week. Do you just like give them carte blanche, kind of like, hey, you pick when you do upper or lower? I mean, like just based on how you're feeling? Or is it like, no, hey, whatever, Monday, we're going to hit upper, Tuesday, lower? Like, how does that work? Do you give them that freedom, or do you guys kind of manage that part of it more?
So we kind of zoom out, I'm sure like everybody, and we'll look at the full season, the 162, and we'll talk with guys. Like, let's say our longest stint was, we had 17 games in a row at one point. That was like our longest stint without an off day.
That's crazy.
We have like multiple 13 game in a row stints. So we'll kind of meet with them before we go into these like heavy front loaded like situations. We'll be like, hey, throughout these 17 games, it'd be great. Just try to get one lift in a series. So if we go to the Pirates for 3 days, make sure you get one lift in there. If we go to the Guardians after that, get one lift in there. So we'll try to be proactive with communication with the guys when we're going into the 17 games in a row, 13, 10 games, because not many sports run into that, right? But we do.
Oh, absolutely.
or like the really heavy travel stress. Like I said, when we went to play the Rockies with the elevation difference out there. And then we went to LA after that to play the Dodgers. It's like, that's all. And then we flew straight back, didn't have an off day, and we played the following day. So that was also pretty tough. So we just had proactive communication of like, hey, this is a great opportunity to we're at home for 8 days. Let's really try to get maybe 2 lifts in this series and 2 lifts in this series. But then depending on if they're getting on base a lot and accumulating a lot of high speed running and hamstring stress, like it's great you get on base a lot, but also that comes with a cost. So it's constant, like, and usually the first place they come to before they do any stuff in the cage or out in the field playing catch with the pitchers, they come to the training room and the weight room. So we're constantly having these touch points, talking with the guys, which I think is, so valuable. It goes back to the relationship and trust piece. It's like Steph's with me every single day, seeing me go through it.
Absolutely.
After the game, making sure I'm hydrated, like making sure I'm drinking beet juice, like doing this, doing that. So I think, just having that constant communication is so valuable.
Well, I think this is a hidden benefit because even though I didn't always apply it to strength, I always told guys, hey, as much as you want to come in during the season, I'll take you. And my thought was always the more time I get with them, the more hands-on stuff that we can do, the better they're going to feel, right? And so even if you're not just chasing strength or power or speed or these outputs, the fact that they're with you every day and they're probably going through a good mobility routine, you're checking in on them, they're probably just more accountable overall, right? And their like standards are elevated based on if they only see you like once a week. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, I'll get my lift in. If they're seeing you every day, they're like, oh no, Steph knows I need to be drinking, all the fluids and getting my electrolytes and stretching. And I just think in every way, shape, or form, whether you're getting like a hard training session in or not is almost irrelevant. It's just the fact that they're more accountable and they're doing more stuff that's going to help them move the needle in a positive way. Like that might even be every bit as beneficial as just, hey, we're doing all the other things too, right? And chasing the outputs.
Yeah, no, I think that a consistent like pressure. I like to think about like we're constantly trying to get better, constant pressure. Like we're never really letting out the gas. And it could be as a strength coach, this setting has made me be 1,000 times more creative. It's like, hey,
oh sure,
you can't get the normal strength day that we have on this sheet because travel was really, really tough. Like let's just do ISO.
Yes.
Right. This is what we can do for the ISO options.
I love that.
It's made me think outside the box, become more creative. The other piece is when we're going to all these different stadiums, every weight room looks a little bit different. There's like a certain list of items that they have to have, right? Like you have to have a trap bar, a safety squat bar, like DC blocks, dumbbells that go up to a certain weight. But not every weight room, like the size, the square footage. So maybe you want to do walking lunges. Well, good luck because the weight room's the size of my living room.
Right.
So I think that constant adaptation, even for me as a practitioner, every weight room looks different. The cardio equipment's different. Like the field size and dimensions are different in baseball compared to any other sport. So I think I'm like, man, I can accomplish working in this sport. Like I work with a lot, but like this is going to set me up to be able to work at any situation.
Yes.
That's so
yes.
super great.
Yeah. And that's something a lot of people don't think about, right? If you're used to only training out of one place and then all of a sudden you said you're working in different stadiums or you're working out of hotel gyms, which is still mind-blowing to me. When you're in professional sports and you travel and now it's like, no, we don't even have a regular weight room. We have to go lift in like a hotel weight room. And in the NBA, these guys are 7 feet tall trying to use like standard normie equipment. Like it's not going to work, bro. Like it's not a good setup.
Yeah.
Not a good setup. Okay. So something else, and I think this piggybacks beautifully off the topic of 162 games, 882 days. Like that's mind blowing. I know we're both passionate about recovery. So again, starting kind of big picture, big rocks. What are your big rocks when it comes to recovery? What are the things that you're going to hang your hat on when it comes to recovery?
Man. And this is something that I have to give credit when I was working at Pitt. Because in college sports, these like recovery rooms, recovery buildings, like they're becoming extremely popular. And what you put in them, working with your athletic trainers, like, is it scientifically proven to work, or is it placebo effect on the other end of the spectrum? Because the athletes used it multiple times. They really like it. So I think there's this like weird marriage that you have to figure out of what are you going to invest in and why.
Yeah.
And when we were starting to plan to build out a recovery space when I was at Pitt, I sat down with our director of sports science. I was like, all right, we were kind of deemed like the health, like, let's figure out what we're going to put in here. And we tried to put it in quadrants, to kind of simplify it in our minds and also be able to sell it to head sport coaches of why we're investing in certain things and kind of what's our really true, like, quote unquote philosophy. And we put it into 4 different categories. We put category 1 being sleep and relaxation. We already had athletes that had their own Oura rings with bands. We would preach to them about temperature they were sleeping in. A lot of like the Huberman Lab podcast. We always check this. We're already doing a lot of education around that. So we're like, that's a form of recovery. So we don't want to overlook that. We don't want to just look at the shiny toys over here that like red light beds, and that's going to come into the equation, but we want to make sure we're educating in all the areas. Heat and cold exposure, that's an easy one. That's one that the athletic trainers usually, like, there's a lot of research backed. What are we going to use kind of in that space? Sauna, like that's really big across professional sports, whether it's NFL, MLB. Another one is, like I already kind of brought up, the electrical red light stimulation. So there's the different types of beds that you can use, of course. There's the Mark Pros. They're all the above, whatever kind of fits in your ecosystem and financially what you can afford, right? Because a lot of these pieces are very expensive. And then the last one, we can't get away from just like the neural inputs of massage therapy. There's masseuses and all of professional sports, like those inputs, whether you're using a massage gun, whether you're using somebody that travels with you on the road. But that was kind of our quadrant 4. And we'd look at, all right, what tool are we using or what is the intervention? And then on the flip side, we think about like, how are we assessing and evaluating? Is it working? And we kind of started with, all right, let's just use our wellness questionnaire, and they rate RPE or soreness. Okay, I'm using the infrared red light bed or the cocoon red light pods that people really like. Like, all right, is this helping? We had a really intense practice. We told them, like, that's the other thing. How are you doing periodization around recovery modalities? Are you just letting athletes go in these recovery centers unlimited amounts of times? Or are you telling them like, hey, this is a good day? And it kind of goes back to like when you're in preseason, everyone's getting in the cold tub every single day. It's like at some point, our body, it's a dose response relationship. So if you're giving that dose every single day, is your body still going to continue to respond to it in the same way? Or can you find a way? It's like, we're not going to max out every day, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So I think just finding the marriage between the two, but that's how we really kind of split up our 4 quadrants for recovery. What you put in each of those quadrants is kind of based on, like I said, budget, space. That's what we kind of ran into. It's like, you don't have a complete big room to put all this equipment in, like it's going to be pretty tough. So yeah, all those things to account for, but it's definitely become a passion project. It's kind of become the new fuzzy thing. I'm sure Mike has you seen too. Just figuring out what actually works and make people feel good.
Yeah, no, I love that. And one of the things that I've always tried to talk about with my athletes, well, 2 things. Number 1, perception is real. Like if you perceive it to be valuable, and you talked about placebo effect, I couldn't agree more. There's some things that I probably don't think are the best, right? Or the most efficacious use of your time, but some people swear by it. So it's like, hey, that's great. But the other thing I think you said it's really important is to understand that things are dose dependent. And there's also the timing of it. So for example, some people love massage, right? And so they want to get massage every day. And I'm like, hey, that's great. But sometimes you need to let the internal systems get used to adapting, right? Before you're trying to, massage the pain away. Hey, sit in that muscle soreness for a training block. Let things kind of work internally. And then when you really need the massage, it's going to work way better for you.
Definitely. No, 100%. And people aren't very patient. And the other thing that you see in pro sports, maybe not exactly in MLB, is just like IVs and hydration. Like the amount of IVs people are trying to get, and all of these like restore centers that are open. And you can go anywhere and get like an IV drip. It's like, do you know what's in that IV drip?
Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair.
If you're signing an NIL deal with whatever recovery studio that's in your city, better make sure whatever you're getting, you don't want to fail a drug test. Just like these energy tests that are out there, So I think just educating yourself and weaponizing yourself to know, like, what are you putting in your body? And letting, when you are in the off season, like let your body just recover on its own. That's not a bad thing.
Yes.
So that when you do
Yeah.
use some of these different pieces of equipment, and I think to your point, like there's some pieces of equipment that work for me, but not for you, and that's okay.
Absolutely.
What's in your routine? What works for you? Maybe I get in the shift wave chair and it helps me shift from parasympathetic to sympathetic at a high level. I like to utilize that before the game or after the game or whatever it may be. So, or like same with the sauna. So I think, figuring out what your routine is for your recovery pieces. But at the end of the day, like sleep and nutrition are going to really, really, really move the needle forward for you at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are always the cornerstones. Okay. So now I got to ask, like, and this is just a personal preference question. Like, are there any recovery modalities out there right now that you're liking? Right? Stuff that, whatever, like you've seen it all. You've been in college, pro, I'm sure you train yourself. So like, is there anything out there that you're liking beyond just the standard, sleep, nutrition, hydration, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I would say the pieces that I've seen, whether it's college and professional sports, that people do gravitate towards, and same with myself. The sauna. That's like, love the sauna. What is some of the contrast? People love to get in the cold tub, and get in there. And, so I think sauna is always a cornerstone and pretty consistent across a lot of pro sports. And I work with wrestling at Pitt. Really, misuse it with weight loss, but I think education on the sauna is super important for any piece. The one thing that we looked at, and now they've kind of made a good second option, are just some of the float tanks. Like getting on the float tank, but it is expensive. I tell people, like, when we looked at investing in getting a float tank, there is like the second option of getting a dry float, so you're not having to replace the salt. It's a lot more cost efficient and not as messy. So, and some people not know how to swim. So like getting in water and floating may be completely frightening to them. So I've seen a lot of athletes kind of gravitate towards those dry floats, and LFA is a company that whenever I was out in California, I went to visit them, and they kind of had a bunch of different pieces all in one spot. So I got to try them all out and see what I like and don't like. So that was helpful for me when we were down in SoCal. And then the last one, those red light, like cocoon pods I've seen, or like the infrared light pads, those have been really popular. Shift wave, definitely throw that in there too. But yeah, those are some of the different ones that have become super popular, not only across like one sport, but kind of utilize across a lot of spaces. Hyperbaric chambers, like at the hospital, or just making sure the grade is a certain level.
High quality, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love it. And I'm always curious, right? Because again, the higher level you go, there's just access and there's resources. So I love knowing like kind of what's out there. It's so funny. I just was talking to one of my athletes today about the sauna, right? And the power of the sauna and just going in there and sweating it out. And I've had so many of my high level athletes, and again, it's super anecdotal, right? Don't like take this as peer reviewed research, but it's just like it sweating every day, like detoxifying your body. There is value in that. Like you said, maybe not using it for extreme weight loss like they're using in like these weight cutting sports. Don't do that. But for detoxifying your body, sweating, all those things, super valuable. And I'm really glad you mentioned the float tanks. We used to have a place here that had them, and over COVID, between the lack of use, cleaning, you could imagine what it was like to keep a recovery center open then. But I don't know if I've ever found something personally that was so relaxing as the float tank. I mean, you talk about like, and I know some people really don't like it, like you said, if they don't swim well, if they're just like not at peace with their own thoughts. But man, I've never felt so relaxed as when I would use that. And I don't know if it was just shutting everything off or the floating or the water or what, but I really like those. I wish it was something that was a little bit more cost effective because they're not cheap.
Yeah. And that's why I think the dry floats, like, especially if you're kind of on the move and you want to just, like the zero body dry float, like get in, your hair's not going to get wet. That's something, I have to like.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, whether it's, you don't like to swim, that kind of frightens you and you have to get over that. But yeah, I think the dry floats have been a good second option, and just replacing that salt can get pretty. If you think about putting together a bucket and you're like, all right, I have to factor in buying X amount of salt, it's going to cost this much and replacing it. So
Yes.
I think if you're like, oh man, or just having both options, is the dream scenario. Also the size, of these things.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, I had the thought for a moment of like, oh man, I'll just buy those float tanks off them. And I was like, no, those things are huge. Like it would like take up most of this room, so I don't think my wife would agree with that, but I'm going to have to check out. You said it's zero body dry flow.
Yeah.
Is that the name of it?
The company Elevate, ELVE, they have some of the dry flows, and that's where I was like, oh, this is great. So I know there's a few different companies and those red light cocoon pods. I've heard if like you are really scared of getting into like a tanning bed type looking red light, then the cocoon pods seem to be like a better second option. That's kind of more like sitting in a chair.
Okay.
But yeah, Shiftwave also has been one that I've seen kind of across NFL, MLB, college, but I think that's, it just depends on your budget, how much space you have. And then, the other concern that we had about opening a recovery space is just, are we to keep track of who's using what and making sure they're not using it, whether it's too much or too little. But also, if you're investing all the money in it, you want to keep track of like, hey, if you say like a donor gives you money for a recovery center.
Sure.
We had 5,000 use cases this past year. We had 1,000 uses of, and then you can figure out like what piece of equipment are getting used more frequently if you are going to purchase more of something,
It's like a weight room, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or like when we added a director of sports science, we kept track of like, all right, we had this many Northport tests with men's soccer, this with women. And we kind of use that more towards adding more staff for sports science. It's like we're accumulating 5,000 counter movement jumps off the force plates for volleyball and then for soccer. For this, like we need more staff to help with all this, not only like testing, but then in the back end, like pumping out
all the data processing.
But yeah, I think it's all just good information to collect over time to figure out whether you're investing in more equipment, more staff, and all the above. Sorry, Mike, you're going to say something.
No, that was perfect. It's just, I was just going to say, it's like when you're evaluating your weight room, right? If you're going to renovate your weight room, it only makes sense. Like, hey, what are we actually using? If you got 20 racks, but you do all kettlebell stuff or all Olympic lifts, just giving random examples, do you really need to invest in more racks? Like, no, you're going to invest the resources and the time and the energy into the things you're using the most. So I think that's really smart. And that way you can always circle back to, hey, we thought this would be great and we would use it, but for whatever reason, people aren't using it. So we're going to circle back in the next round. We're going to spend more time and more energy on this stuff. So no, I think that's really smart. That's cool. Okay.
You can't be emotionally attached to anything. It's like, it's just what the
option
is. And if you're like, I can't force that on everybody else.
Yes. Well, that's just like a great rule for strength and conditioning, right? Like we as coaches can't get emotionally attached to stuff because, hey, it's about the athlete at the end of the day, right? How do they like to train? What foods do they like to eat? How, what recovery modalities work for them? Like all of these things are athlete specific. And so, hey, it comes back to what you said at the beginning, right? You have to be like this trusted resource. And so when they ask about strength training, hey, here's some things I think that would be helpful. Recovery, here's some things, like give them information and then hopefully they'll make educated decisions based off that. So that's very cool. Okay. One other topic I want to talk about is continuing ed. I know you talk about this a lot. I'm obviously kind of into continuing ed. I have a podcast as a hobby. So, I'm always looking to learn, and you've got a ton going on in your life, right? Like multitasking, multiple jobs. I'd love to know two things. Number one, practical tips, right? Because everybody listening to this obviously wants to learn more, wants to become more educated. What are some practical tips that Steph Grubbs uses to learn all the things? And then number two, what are you learning about right now that's got you excited?
Oh man. This was something that was ingrained and instilled in me when I was at Clemson with Rick Franzblau. You guys know Rick.
Yeah.
He was just constantly pushing the envelope. So
always.
I think just making sure you're surrounding yourself with people that are constantly trying to elevate themselves. So I think as I've changed from one position to the next, like you're going to surround yourself with people that are going to push you, and your circle may change, and that's okay. I think about like how the influence of different people. Like I just went to an event at the All-Star game for baseball where it was put on by New Era that like makes all our hats and everything else, of course.
Yeah.
It was like a woman's panel for sports, and it was me and another woman with the Tigers. But there were a few women that got awards, and there were like 2 women that were assistant GMs of like, one was at the Red Sox and one at the Orioles. And I was like, even these women exist.
That's cool.
So I think
that's cool.
Whether it's podcasts or social media, you can just reach out to people, like literally just send them a DM and be like, and this is something I really try to just put myself out there. And what's the worst that's going to happen? Like, I'm not going to respond, but it's me as I've kind of entered a new space and made myself uncomfortable. And that's always been my why, like get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yes.
Positions that are calculated risks, that are going to push you outside your comfort zone. And it's easy to reach out to people and try to seek advice or seek knowledge. So I think don't be afraid to network and put yourself out there, and when people reach out to me, maybe to ask me a question about whether it's baseball or microdosing, like I always try to take the time to respond within like the week. Of course, with me traveling, it's kind of crazy, but with a lot of the Twitter, the podcast, social media, it's so easy to just reach out to people for advice. So that's just one thing I really try to do, whether I'm going to a city, and we have an off day, and like I said, say California, and they go to that recovery spot, you see some different pieces of it,
Yeah, that's cool.
To just reach out. And site visits have always been huge for me, and that's something I learned from Rick. Like maybe I can't afford to go to X conference, $2,000, but I'm going to Indianapolis, and maybe I can reach out to my friends and just run by the gym and watch it drive.
Absolutely.
And
for sure.
Site visits have also been a big one. If you're like coming up in the field, that's kind of what I did, is just drink, and I can maybe get a hotel for a night, or I can drink with them one day. Well, that's the one great thing about the field of like performance is it's pretty like open doors. So you want to move on in. So yeah, just networking, and not just like sending out the same message to 30 people, like,
right.
Well, Mike, I listened to your podcast. I heard you talk about like training X athlete. Like, I would love to learn more about that. Could I come by? And then like a great list of questions. Like, make sure you're
yes,
and make sure it's like a specific thing. So,
right.
But yeah, I think with our crazy travel schedule, I've tried to reach out to people. We have days in big cities and learn from them. But yeah, the one person that I've grown really fond of and respect a lot is Rob Pacey as well. He has his podcast too. But what he was doing with Sportsmith, like we put on a speed conference when I was at Pitt, and it was awesome. He was Richard one. I'm on his like Sportsmith Premium, and I think I love that he just has different presentations on there. So it's almost like for a lot of different instances, but I'm getting it all in one step.
In one spot.
Yeah. I've been using him as a resource for sure, and that I've been trying to dive into a little bit more of like I love sports science, so I'm getting kind of gone down that hole, but also just some of the mental performance space, because baseball, like you're failing.
Yes. Yeah, like 70% of the time.
Yeah. So I met a really bright woman who works with the Royals. Melissa Lambert is her name.
Oh yeah. I know Melissa. Yeah. I've known her for like 10 or 15 years. Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah. I forgot she's with them. I need to get her on the show. You need to let her know. She needs to come on.
But I got in contact with her through John Michael that's at Notre Dame. You're going to play the Royals. And he was like, I'd love to talk to Melissa. I saw her out there like catching fly balls during
she's great.
But she had told me about Peak Mind as a good book, so I'm going to dive into that. What do you think? Having kind of like accountability buddies, whether it's with a different team or like one of your mentors, but checking in on people to make sure they're continuing to learn and read. So she's made me have more of an interest in that mental performance space just with the sport of baseball. Like I said, you're going to fail a lot, but that's like the essence of the sport. But how can I communicate and use the right language with the guys? Another person that he's the Pirates, Bernie Holiday. He's super bright, but he did some work with us when I was at Pitt with volleyball. But just language is so important, especially in this this day and age of there's a lot of things happening in the world. So yeah, I've gotten a learned respect for the mental performance space through some great people. And I love that we both know Melissa. So that's great.
Oh yeah, it's so funny. No, I'm serious. I need to get her on. It's been forever. But yeah. Well, she used to go to a lot of the same seminars that I did, probably before she got into the pro baseball side of things. But no, I remember having breakfast with her, chatting with her, and I always thought she was very, very sharp. So I need to get her on. But one of the things that you mentioned, I just want to circle back to this because I talked about it in a show, and I can't remember if it was with somebody or a solo show. But point being, site visits. This is something you don't hear many people talking about anymore, and I think it's such a great way to learn and like get a real reality check. I think it was a solo show because I had, over the course of 2 weeks, I had one guy that was in for an entire week. Then I had a second guy that was in for 3 days of a week. And I thought it was so good because one, they see like, hey, I'd like to think I'm a pretty good coach. I fail as a coach, right? We have the wrong exercise sometimes, or an athlete's not getting it. So it brings you this dose of reality, like, hey, even like good or great coaches struggle or don't always, it's not like 100% win rate. But it also shows you in a lot of cases too, because I think oftentimes the best coaches, right? Like the Steph Mocks of the world, it's like, man, you just assume like everybody else is doing better stuff. Like that's how the world treats us with social media. We think, oh my gosh, I'm looking at my phone and this person, they're killing it. And you see everybody's highlight reels. But if I go watch you coach or vice versa, you start to realize, no, hey, like we're all normal people. We all use the same exercises, same cues, right? We're all in different positions, working with different people. But ultimately, hey, we all have good days. We all have bad days. We have some wins. We have some losses. Like it's not the curated environment that we get from social media. And so I think it's so valuable. Like if you go watch somebody else work, now you get like this unique insight into what coaching really is. And it just reminds you like, hey, look, I'm doing a great job. Right? Because I think the best coaches are always like, I don't know, maybe you're not. I'm always questioning myself, right? Like, am I doing this right? Is this like, but it's a positive thing because you want to get better and you want to give the best result to your athlete. But at the same time, it's like, hey, going and watching other great coaches coach just helps remind you, hey, this is why I do it. Everybody fails, everybody struggles, but that's why we keep coming back, right? Because we just enjoy the process of it. Sorry, I'm rambling, but
no,
it's fine.
I just on everything. Yes. And I'm always, especially we just got like to the All-Star break and you're always auditing yourself as a coach, like the great ones.
That's a great way to put it. Yes.
I'm always auditing whether it's like professionally me as a coach or personally, like goal setting, relationships, like I need to audit myself. And some people do it daily. Like I'm making lists the night before of stuff I need to get done. But yeah, I think it's healthy to audit yourself. And to your point about the site visits, like I love going to conferences. Like I had the opportunity to speak at the IUSCA International Conference and then the Notre Dame Performance Summit recently, and just like getting questions from different people and like kind of auditing microdosing. It's like they're asking me questions about my presentation. I was like, this is really helpful. Like I really like them poking holes in this, but it goes back to sort of the mental piece of people could take it as like criticism. So their slides or their presentation, it's like, oh, well, like, I can't believe they asked me that question. It's like, no.
Right.
They're trying to understand. Like, and I always try to, if I don't understand something, I will literally say like, Mike, help me understand. Like, I really want to understand this. It's not like, oh, we disagree and we're pulling onto the rope. So I think, site visits, love a good conference, but think about it. It goes back to that. Like, I'm just talking at you for an hour. Then we have a 15-minute break. Then we're running to the bathroom. Then we come back and I talk at you for another hour. When you go to a site visit, one thing I love, like I'm actually getting to know Mike as a person, and I'm also seeing the coach. I'm getting to know, like, I know nothing about running a private business. So I'd be like, oh, wow, Mike, like, how have you done this? This is great.
Right. Right.
So I think you get to see a little bit more of like authenticity about people. And they are humans, and you get and maybe you go grab food with them after. And so, you build like maybe a longer lasting relationship too. So
absolutely.
Like conference, I just went to the MLB one at the All-Star game for New Era, the Women's Sports Bruncher. It was great. But I was like, all right, I want to meet 5 people at this sports brunch that's like 5 hours long and like stay in touch with them after. That was my goal going into it.
Yeah.
And
No, that's great.
but yeah, I think setting goals of when I'm going on this site visit or when I'm going to this conference, like these are the takeaways that I want to have, like being honest with yourself before you go to it is helpful. You're setting goals.
Yeah. 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 No, I love it. And just to piggyback on one other thing you said, a lot of times when people come across as combative, they're not clear maybe on context or environment, right? So you and I may have what appear to be opposing viewpoints on something, and it's really just, no, my environment is totally different than yours, right? So what works for you and your environment is just different from me. And I think too often we just look at things through our own lens and we don't, like you said, zoom out and then, okay, but what's Steph's environment? What does she have to deal with on a day-to-day basis? Well, hey, if somebody has to play 162 baseball games in 182 days, that's a lot of constraints. That changes a lot of things about how you plan strength training and recovery and travel. So I think that's one thing that I would just have everybody think about is before you want to challenge somebody, question them, hey, that's normal, but ask yourself, like, what is the context of their situation? It just makes you, before you have any sort of conversation, it makes you more aware of maybe some of the things that they're running up against. So I love it.
Definitely.
I love it.
Yeah. And I think about even, you had asked about the difference between like pro and college sports. Like college sports, I wasn't allowed to run people after a game or lift them after a game because of NCAA rules,
Yeah.
Pro sports, we're allowed to train them whatever we schedule. So yeah, I think to your point that's so valid. And yeah, that's how I never approach someone with judgment. I approach them with wanting to understand, like help me understand where you're coming from. I really want to understand it. And then I can like really just tell them how I feel and how I would approach it. And it's not right or wrong. It's just understand.
Yeah. But when you say it like that too, it's just so authentic. Yeah. Like it doesn't feel like you're coming across as you're challenging me and I don't have to be defensive. Like I want to help you, right? If you want to understand, I want to try and frame it in a way that helps you understand. So I love it. Okay. Last but not least, lightning round. 4 fairly short questions. Your answer can be as long or short as you like. Number 1, honest answer. How's that MLB schedule treating you so far? Have you gotten like into a rhythm and a routine? You got a break now, but.
Yeah, no, it's crazy because you play every day. Like you have a game. Right. So historically, you'd like go into practice and be like, treat every practice like a game, the same intensity and focus and attention to detail. And now every day is a game for me. So,
right.
And right now, like during the All-Star break, like clearly the facility may be open if guys want to come in and keep their bodies moving and whatever else. But it's weird to go in and train and not the game. Your mind's just so synced up of like competing every day. So I respect the sport a lot more than I did before I worked in it. Because you'd watch it for a while, like, oh, I'm going to go to I'm from Pittsburgh. I'm going to go to a Pirate game. And it seems like an enjoyable time with your family and whatever else. And it's so great. And you're like, oh, that's cool. These guys are doing their thing. But now being on the other side and working in a lot of different sports throughout my career, which I'm super grateful for, I'm like, man, I have a newfound respect for Major League Baseball and what these guys do day in and day out. And like, I mean, I'm married and have a husband that coaches, so he understands. But for the wives and the kids and them playing every day, and like we can travel really well, So I think that helps significantly with like planes and getting in and getting out quick and our equipment guys just working real hard. So it really takes a full village to get us locations. So yeah, it's been really cool to learn more about. There's just so much history in baseball. You go to these different stadiums, like we'll go to play at the Red Sox and the Yankees, and we just play at the Dodgers over July 4th. But yeah, just hearing a lot of the history of the sport, it's just really cool, and I'm really grateful.
It is very cool. Okay, now I'm interested in this one. We talked professionally. What are the biggest differences personally between working at the college level and working at the professional level?
Oh man, I mean, in college, you still have that aspect of you have these young people and they're just figuring it out. You know, like,
Sure. Yeah.
it's a little bit more of like, maybe the head coaches are like, that's like the mom or dad, and you're like the cool aunt is the strength coach trying to like help.
Right.
Like, pro sports, it's a business, you know, and college sports, it's changing a lot right now.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Whether it's athletes getting paid or having agents. And so I think I made the leap over to pro sports. I feel as if it's a good time to learn about like this organization and just Major League Baseball as a whole and how it runs and all the different rules. And same with the NFL. It has a lot of different rules and they're not the same between cross organizations. And yeah, so I think between NBA, like NFL, MLB, they're all a little bit different.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, I'm just soaking everything in like a sponge, you know, and I read a book at the beginning of when I started this job, and it was called, I have it over here actually, The First 90 Days. And it was recommended to me by a friend, but whenever you take a new job in the first 90 days, like you want to have a direct impact, right when you get there. It's like, I'm taking this new job, like I want to help right now. And like it or not, like you're probably be taking, like, let's say the first 30 days, you're going to be taking and asking more questions than like giving back, just because you're trying to get a lay of the land, learn new people, whatever stuff it is. But over those 90 days, you want to start to reach that net positive of like, all right, now I'm starting to give more than take. Now I'm really just giving, you know, a lot. So I think you have to be real with yourself when you take a new job. The first 30 days, there'll be a lot of like asking questions to try to get a lay of the land, and then be patient because your time will come when you can really start to give back. Versus like my last couple jobs when I was taking over leadership roles that were massive and over a lot of people. I probably wish I would have like been a little bit more patient and asked more questions before I started to like just kind of go in and drop the hammer and again understand. So I think it's just part of, you know, adulting out here and being a career professional. But I mean, pro sports, like I am here in part of the Astros organization to help the team win. If I'm not bringing value, like you shouldn't expect to have a job, whatever role you're in, player, coach. So I think just being able to separate personal and professional, you just have to understand that when working in professional sports, and if people are giving you hard feedback right in the moment, like get better, you know, just continue to push. I think just the speed of professional sports is a lot faster. And you're expected to win in both, but like the stakes are just a lot higher. So I'm grateful for all my time in college sports to kind of prepare me for this moment, but by no means do I have everything figured out. Like there's anything value.
Yeah, no, and nor should you, being whatever 6-7 months in. But man, it is a short feedback loop, right?
Yeah,
a couple bad days, and somebody's quick to let you know, hey, you're not at 100%. You need to step up here, man. So I love it.
Players, it could be coaches, it could be anybody. You know, these guys, some guys have been in the league for 8 or 10 years or whatever it may be, or could be older than you. Who knows? So
absolutely.
You're getting better at a fast rate. Like I think when I started this job, I try to like always have perspective. When I started in January to where I'm at now, like, oh my goodness, like light years different, which that's what it should be, and it should make you uncomfortable and push you. So yeah. No, I love it. Okay, I'm really interested in your advice on this one. I'm going to give you context. So my daughter is a little athlete herself. She likes coming in the weight room, and so this has been fun. And I've always kind of had this thought, like, you know, I'm not saying she has to, but maybe she could be a strength coach someday or a sports scientist. And she told me today, because I had to do, of course, a 2-mile run for soccer. And she's like, man, some of these girls should come see you, Dad. Their hips and their feet, and I'm watching them run. So she's already like breaking people down. So this is a little bit selfish, but I would love to know your advice. What's the best advice you would give to a young female who wants to be successful in strength and conditioning, which is such a male-dominated space? Obviously, you've had tremendous success, different levels. I would love to hear what advice you would give to an aspiring young female. Yeah. I mean, never want things to be easy, or never expect things to be easy. You know, if you're not being challenged, you're in the wrong spot, you know? And I think all the places that I've been at as a professional or whenever I played college sports, if you're at a spot that you feel like you're not learning or growing or being pushed, like it's probably time to move on, So,
Yeah.
just want that constant hard pressure to push yourself forward, every single day. And I think that's why I'm really grateful. I would tell her to be strategic and be smart and do your homework about the mentors that you're going to pick throughout your career.
Yeah.
When I got
like
to the
that.
field, I knew nobody. Like my mom's
Yeah.
like, and my dad builds houses. So like, they're not sports people. And my brother's
Right.
like musical theater. So like,
Oh,
I
wow.
am-
Yeah.
I
You're
am
the
an
black sheep over
outlier.
there.
Massive outlier. But
Yeah.
so I got in the field knowing nothing, like knowing absolutely nothing. And so I got really lucky to have a lot of great mentors. So I would tell her, lean on her dad to pick good mentors.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
like I see it now as my job. Like clearly in professional sports, having interns is a little bit more difficult, right? Just kind of the
Sure.
context of what we're dealing with day in, day out in the information. But I'm lucky that I had great mentors throughout my career that poured into me, like their time,
Yeah.
their effort. And I remember like one of my mentors, he told me, he was like, Steph, don't, because I was like, oh, I want to be a director by 25, or like, don't marry an age to like a position, just every day.
Yeah.
Be preparing yourself as if you're going to get interviewed the following day, like just constantly
I
be
like
pushing
that.
to learn and grow day in and day out. And even when I was interviewing for this job, I got really good advice about just, because I was like, man, I'm the only, to your point, female saying, probably the only female
Yeah.
doing this job.
Right.
Just
Right.
keep it real with yourself, right? But
Yeah.
make it about the job or the role, not about gender. It doesn't matter if male or
Yes.
female. Good coaches
Yes.
are good coaches. And I'm lucky that I
Thank
had
you.
mentors that never looked at me like, oh, Steph's a female. I don't know if she can train the baseball players. Like when I was at Clemson, that was like my younger years, 5 years there.
Yeah.
Dennis Love and Rick Fransplau, like they let me train any team, male or female.
Yeah.
I remember they had to go to a conference. They left me to train the whole baseball team. Like the head coach,
I
was
love
like,
it.
"Steph got it." So I think
That's cool.
there's a lot of men in our field, but find male mentors that treat you just as a coach. They don't see you
Yes.
as little Susie Q or little Steph. They
Yeah.
know she's like a powerhouse. And I told them my goal was to be a director, and was able to go and do it. And so yeah, be really smart with who you pick as your mentors, and yeah, make sure they're going to pour into you and be good people. Keep it
Yeah.
real with
I love
yourself.
it. Yeah. I love it. That's awesome. Okay. Last but not least, what's next for Steph Grubbs? What are you working on? What are you excited about? Anything? Well, other than the 160, or sorry, not 160, the 60 some games you still have ahead of you.
Oh man, I would win, of course.
Yeah. Right.
Well, I would win a World Series. That'd be great. My husband and I kind
That
of
would be
have
sick.
like, in the house, because we just came up on our first wedding anniversary, so we did it 1 year. Living our best.
Yeah. Let's go. Congrats.
That's when the coaches for the Texans, he's the director of reconditioning and speed and all that fun stuff. But we're like, all right, who's gonna win like Super Bowl, World Series? Who's gonna do it first? So that
Right.
would be great to just helping the team win a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I need to. I've been kind of battling with myself of I'd love to write a book. So I need to if anybody has any advice about writing a book, please call me. Reach out to me.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I'd love to do it. I just need to commit myself to just diving in. So maybe me saying it out loud is just step one.
Yeah.
Right? The mental piece of Mike, I want to write a book. So let's.
I love
make
it.
this happen. But
I
so
love
yeah, maybe in my 2 months of off season after we win the World Series, hopefully that'd be great.
Yeah.
Just let it go on that.
That would be
So if you
dope.
have any ideas of what people will learn from me, stay tuned.
Dude, here's what I would say. You need to just start. As much as you're on the road, just start jotting ideas down, right? Just open a notes, whatever iPhone, just start ideas that you have in notes, right? I will share since you're sharing. I have the book that I would write. I don't even think I would write like an X's and O's S and C thing. The whole thing would be like a story that then tells, proves a point. Right. So just walking my way through my fitness journey, Like something like that, I think is so unique because then you could like talk about all the lessons that you've had along the way and the great mentors, maybe some of the bad ones. You don't have to name them by name, but you know, like, hey, here are the lessons that I learned along the way. Like those are always relatable. Right.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know. There's so many things like whatever you come up with, I'll read it. I mean, I love reading stuff and we need more good strength and conditioning stuff. Right. And I don't need any more sets, reps, time under tension. I think we've checked most of those boxes, but I would love to hear more about people's experiences, what they've learned. Like that's way more exciting and it's way more engaging to read, right? Everybody loves stories. So
I keep telling myself, I'm like, I should, but yeah, I like that starting point, small wins. I'm just gonna start writing things down.
Yeah.
Brain dump. Kind of like when I do presentations.
Yes.
I like to brain dump, put a bunch of stuff down, and we'll slowly start to like organize it. So yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Thanks to Mike.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Hey, I'll just take like a small snippet in like the, acknowledgments. Thank you, Mike Robertson, for holding me accountable and helping me write this book. That's all I'm asking for. That's all I'm asking for.
Ready to the book for me.
Yes. I love it. Well, Steph, as I expected, this is amazing. It's always great to catch up with you. Where can my listeners find out more about you and all the great stuff that you're doing?
Oh, man. Well, you guys can always email me, sgrubbs@astros.com. That's easy. Okay. Or social handle at Coach Steph Grubbs or at Coach Steph Mock. I need to change it, but it makes sense. I'm getting married. All things got to change. Crazy.
Yeah.
I'll be there and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And Mike, you're the best. Thanks so much for having me. Go visit Mike. Maybe I'll have you at the gym.
That's right. Hey, anytime. And again, whenever we can get your husband on, random side note for the listeners, I've been trying to get her husband on for at least 2 years. So at some point we're going to collab. We're going to make these schedules work and we're going to get him on too. So,
yeah.
But today's about you. Steph, thank you so much. I truly appreciate you coming on. You're the best.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, Indianapolis, all the famous people of Indy, you and Ryan.
Yes. Let's go.
Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.